What's up everybody, my name is Vincent. Welcome to Cryptolution, where we talk about everything under the moon in the crypto universe. Today is Wednesday, January 7th. Now in today's dog video, I'm going to share with you some updates regarding Morgan Stanley's Bitcoin ETF that was filed yesterday. Because believe it or not, they briefly mentioned Bitcoin runes. Now this was a shocker, but I want to share with you my opinion of what this actually means for dog and the Bitcoin runes emerging asset class. But also, I discovered something in the charting analysis, that dog is about to enter its fourth bull rally. Yes, you heard me right. It's fourth bull rally that's ever existed. We've already experienced 3 bull rallies, but what is the fourth one going to look like? And what indicators flash that confirmation? Well, I'm going to share with you very detailed in this video. So let's get right into it. Let's not waste any time. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to join us on X. Please be careful with any of the scammers down in the comments below. I'll never reach out via WhatsApp, Telegram, direct messaging, or email. So please be careful and invest safely. Guys, girls, let's get right into it. Okay, so dog is down roughly around 5.8%. Trust me, this is nothing, because if you look over the past month, we've been up 19%, over the past week up 46%. So having a pullback of 5.8% really isn't anything. Now, why did it pull back? Well, it could be because Bitcoin decided to take a massive dip. Now, not too long ago, this was at roughly around 94,000. It's now at 91,000. Now, when you look at the meme coins, right now, they're kind of either staying sideways, meaning they're not going up or down, or some take a really hard hit, such as Dog WIFHAT. Dog WIFHAT is down 8.35%. Pippin, which is an insider traded token, down 15%. When I scroll down, we can see that Dog Bitcoin is still within the top 200 ranking, down 5.88%. But I don't think this will last long. And don't worry, that will be mentioned at the very end of the video, because this pullback is short term. And this is why this is a great opportunity to dollar cost average or just hodl. Now, just yesterday, I noticed that dog was mentioned almost 8,400 times and was on cookie.fund's good sentiment page. Now, that's amazing considering that I'm not really seeing any other meme coin community do this type of domination on X. And that's why you're also seeing dog trending on platforms such as StockTwits, which is a great platform for people wanting to see the rating for stocks, which are like the TradeFi world, and also crypto. And if you ever have time, please go over to Shaw. Shaw is the listing agent over at Coinbase. Now he's back and he's also talking about the Blue Carpet program, which dog was submitted to, but he's talking about how they have direct access to speaking with the team, yada, yada, yada. Now, what I want all of you to do is go to Shaw's page, find the specific post, make sure to reply dog, when dog, are you going to list dog, yada, yada, yada. So make sure to do that. Make sure Shaw pays attention to the dog army. And just quick, really briefly, OKX, an exchange that I do not support. It's like just been one of the most engagement farming platforms that I've ever seen. And they actually delisted dog out of perpetuals, which I don't really like perpetuals, to be very honest. I like spot trading, but nonetheless, they delisted it. And they're still like featuring dog in a Solana meme coin guide, which is actually kind of hilarious. So this is obviously engagement farming. So just make sure to call OKX out on this, even though it gives them the engagement, but make sure to call them out and let them know that this is wrong information. But if there's any confirmation, dog is still relevant to the mind share, and that's always very important. And keep in mind, WIF, Bonk, and Baby Doge are all listed on OKX, not dog. And another thing, really briefly, I want to give a shout out to Dippy Dog, aka Snowy Reflection. He was asking Arjan Sethi if he's willing to sponsor Bold Leonidas for creating a dog comic illustration. And Arjan Sethi said, sure. If you don't know who Bold Leonidas is, he basically has a whole bunch of different animations on a daily basis that does go viral. Surprisingly, like his artwork is retweeted, reposted, and liked and commented a lot. He does a lot of custom artworks for Kraken and Kraken Pro. So it'd be really exciting to see if dog is going to be featured in any of these specific animations or illustrations for that matter. So shout out to Dippy Dog for getting this started. Now let's get into the nitty gritty of the news of this video, which is yesterday. I was diving deep into Morgan Stanley's Bitcoin Trust form, which is an S1 form that was submitted to the Securities Exchange Commission. This was submitted January 6th. That was yesterday. Now, what did I notice in the very bottom? Runes protocol was actually mentioned, believe it or not. Now, what it said was, in April of 2024, Bitcoin transaction fees spiked to $128 in connection with the Bitcoin network halving and the rollout of the Runes protocol. There is no guarantee that any of the mechanisms in place or being explored for increasing the scale of sentiment of transactions in Bitcoin. And I just want to remind everybody that the spike in transactions fees of $120 was nothing compared to Ethereum. Remember, Ethereum has high transaction fees as well. We call them gas fees. And I remember when people were trying to mint the other side, which was an NFT collection for like land sales within the Bored Ape Yacht Club virtual reality world. Well, I remember the fees for that were $3,000. Yes, I was there for that. So comparing this fee to, say for instance, Ethereum's gas fees is really nothing. But what's really interesting that Mark Yusko, yes, the CEO of Morgan Creek Capital, reposted this saying probably a fad, which is good because he also recognizes that the Runes protocol and Runes assets such as DOG are garnering more attention. The fact that Runes protocol was mentioned in Morgan Stanley's Bitcoin Trust. By the way, Morgan Stanley was a huge bear against Bitcoin, along with JP Morgan, and look how they're flipping. Now they're flipping bullish on Bitcoin and mentioned an emerging protocol such as Runes. Not Alkanes, not BRC20, nothing, just Runes protocol. It's because Runes protocol garner a lot of transaction volume. I mean, look at overall, ever since of April of 2024, the Runes protocol was consuming roughly around 70% of the network in terms of transactions. And it was kind of dead within the year of January all the way up until September of 2025. And then September thereafter up until the present day of today, it's consuming up to around close to 50%. More exactly, we're actually seeing roughly 42% of all Bitcoin transactions over the past month with just the Runes protocol. That makes up around 6.168 million worth of Runes transactions overall. This is why people are paying attention to Runes, because it actually is functional. It actually has a use case. For right now, it's just meme coins, but I do believe that sooner or later, people are going to start building stable coins and also other utilities on top of the Runes protocol. And remember, the Runes protocol is not even 2 years old. It'll be 2 years old once we hit April of 2026. And that's why you're seeing news networks such as Monday Morning saying that in this specific Morgan Stanley ETF application, that the Bitcoin Runes protocol is saying that Bitcoin Runes protocol has garnered speculative buzz. Now, with all that said, let's move into something that I want to talk about, which is charting analysis. Now, I just noticed that yesterday on Gate.io, which is a platform that has not had a great reputation. In fact, they use a lot of market makers. They've not only pushed prices down, but they can also push prices up. And I don't believe that they actually have retail buying most of their coins. In fact, because they're overseas, mainly in Asia, they don't have any regulatory oversight. So there's no real clear regulation around Gate.io's limitations. But hopefully that will be stopped by the Clarity Act that hopefully could be passed by the end of this month or any time within Q1 of 2026. And it will prevent market makers and Gate.io and many other exchanges overseas from manipulating Bitcoin's price, but also crypto assets such as DOG. But nonetheless, I'm seeing that major buy orders yesterday were buying DOG on Gate, roughly around 90% higher. That's crazy. This is not organic. This is completely manipulation. They want people to believe that DOG's price is going down, but they're ending up buying a lot of the DOG themselves. And this is why they garner roughly 17% of all trading volume of DOG. And that's almost close to around $1 million per day. So be really careful around Gate. They want you to sell your bags to accumulate your bags. It's because they see something like this. So I noticed that on Kraken Pro that apparently maybe some leverage trading was going on, but I saw a huge wick to around $178 million market cap, which is roughly 0.00178 price point in US dollar conversion. So this spike was kind of crazy. I don't know what that means, but that means that people are speculating that the price can surpass $170 million market cap. So that's actually quite interesting. And when I looked into charting analysis, check this out. So in the MACD yesterday, we just saw a confirmation that the MACD has now entered the buyer's market. And the reason that's important is because this is what we've been waiting for a long time. This has only happened roughly 3 or 4 times in the past, and they all led to a bull rally. And I kept telling you that we were ascending out of the seller's market, going into the buyer's market. I've been telling this to you guys since August of 2025, and now we're here. But now let's zoom in just a little closer. So I want you to check this out. Okay, so you may see this massive pullback, but again, the whole market is in a pullback. It's not just DOG. But you may see this massive pullback thinking, oh my God, are we going to head back down? Well, I'm going to tell you, I don't think that's the case. So pay attention to this orange circle. Now let's go into the past of where we've seen this before. We've actually seen it back over here. Now notice something. When we go over here, notice that when we see this orange circle, that the MACD enters the buyer's market. Okay, now we're going to go in the past. What happened over here? Well, guess what? When we saw this orange circle right around here, we had just entered the buyer's market. And notice, even though we had this sharp red candle go downwards, meaning we actually dipped quite a bit, it did not mean that the bull rally for dog had ended. In fact, we kept seeing the orange and blue line keep going up, which led to dog also still continuing to go up. Now let's even go further into the past. What we see over here. Again, we saw that the blue line and the orange line entered the buyer's market, and we saw massive red candles. This was like kind of scary. People were thinking like, okay, this is probably not the actual rally. It's probably going to end. But the blue and orange line kept going, and we saw fake outs. This was a huge fake out, and we continued to keep going until we reached a new all-time high, by the way, market cap of 999 million market cap. That led to just shy of $1 million to $1 billion. Now let's go back over here, the same thing. Now we don't have the orange line, but the blue line over here did occur and it crossed over into the buyer's market. And it happened right over here. And guess what? We saw that the price of dog hit its very first bull rally, which was 980 million market cap. Now, what I just shared with you is that right now, these orange circles that I've shared with you in the past is indicating what's going to happen right here, that this is going to lead into a bull rally, the potential of a fourth parabola event. Now, why do I say that? Well, pay attention to the MACD, which I've always talked about. Whenever we see weakening selling pressure, it eventually leads into a crossover into buyer's market dominance. We haven't seen that in Q3 and Q4 of 2025. It was completely absent, but that was also mainly due to the whole crypto market taking a huge dip. But I want you to pay attention to this, which is the RSI. So I'm going to get rid of the MACD. Why are we paying attention to the RSI? Notice something. Look at the yellow line. Okay, so this yellow line right here, I want you to pay attention to that. Now, currently the yellow line is at this specific point, but what have you noticed? The yellow line actually continues to go up. Even though we may have topped on the MACD, it does not mean that we're oversold. No. In fact, it needs to be reset, because the reset will allow it to see a pullback in dog's price in order for dog's price to see another rally to the upside. Because if you could pay attention to this yellow line, it actually hasn't gone up to this level, because every single time we've seen this yellow line reach at this peak right over here, every single time in the past 3 bull rallies. We are not there yet. So when you're looking closely, zooming up in terms of Bitcoin's price, yeah, we see this pullback, but this yellow line is not anywhere close to being at this peak right here. So this curvature, this little dip down, this little pullback within the RSI is necessary, because we've seen that happen in the past. We pull back, but does not mean it ends. It can still stay up here, and you can see it's still reflective in dog price. Same thing over here. Even though we peaked and then we pulled back, we did not stop. And in fact, we saw the dog price continue to go up. So now, ladies and gentlemen, you understand what Morgan Stanley recognizes. The fact that they even mention Runes protocol in their application for a Bitcoin trust is actually kind of massive. And I do want to mention the reason why Morgan Stanley put Bitcoin Runes into their trust is because they put it under the category risk disclosures, which means that if people are going to buy into their Bitcoin trust, they need to know what can affect the Bitcoin network. And that's why they mention Bitcoin Runes, because of the transaction fees and because of the activity on top of Bitcoin. So it could garner maybe high transaction fees for people to send, receive Bitcoin, but the thing is, Runes protocol actually incentivizes miners to still validate transactions on top of Bitcoin. And this is the new world that we're going into, which is Bitcoin DeFi. Remember, we've never heard of Bitcoin DeFi. This is the very first year Bitcoin DeFi is going to emerge. Fungible tokens on Bitcoin, such as Bitcoin Runes, is the first time that we've ever seen in history tokens on top of Bitcoin. So when you think about Bitcoin meme coins, they've never had a bull run ever. Solana, BNB, Cardano, Ethereum, they've all had meme coin bull runs. Bitcoin meme coins are next in line. And the number one leading Bitcoin meme coin, not just by market cap, but by mindshare, and the number one fungible token on Bitcoin is DOG. So that's why I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. This is what's happening right now and unfolding. And I'm trying to let you know what potentially is going to happen just within the next couple of weeks in Q1 of 2026. It's going to be kind of mind melting for that matter. My job as a reporter is just to tell you what's happening on chain, what's happening within the news, and everything is telling me number go up. That's just my personal opinion. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I cannot wait to read them. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to join us on X to receive all of our alpha calls and updates regarding Dog on the Moon. Till then, see you guys girls next time.